Hiya.
Hiya.
Hello. I'm sorry if my dog barks in the background a little bit. She might. Sorry.
It'll drown out mine, so it's okay.
I just wanted to report on some patterning, some in Hannaness. There's been a sudden disappearance of an inability to move forward in action in the world. And when that started, that pattern started to come back in, there was, I hope this is making sense, there was another pattern that started thinking something's gone wrong and making it about the unit's fault and trying to work out what to do.
Mhm.
And then there was another pattern that said, hang on, this is like looking down the wrong end of a telescope.
Yeah.
There's celebration here that a pattern's disappeared. Of course, it's not going to go forever the first time. And so that pattern was also seen. And it seems like this pattern that's been there of seeing everything down the wrong end of the telescope and thinking something's wrong when it isn't
Mhm.
is beginning to go. And in that, there's a real change in perspective generally. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Come on, say more.
Um, there's a whatever happens is what happens. This is the process. If there's suffering at this moment, this is what happens. If
Mhm.
there's freedom from suffering, or if there's identification, then that's what happens.
Mhm.
There's that. Everything. This is what it is.
The
Yeah.
suffering feels wrong, but it just is suffering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so the these suffering arises because we mistake patterns, whether they're visual patterns or they're mental patterns, which you've been talking about. Either way, um, there is a sense that the patterns are separating, or what's separating it, other patterns. In other words, there's bunches of patterns, and they seem to be separating from each other within what? It's their patterns within the spaciousness, right? Which we'll just call space for the moment to make it a little easier. Because there are patterns, the patterns in the space, are they really representative of separation? The They certainly appear to be. It looks to me like there's a Hannah over there that looks quite unlike the Fred over here. Um, but actually, what I see is a pattern that I've been taught to call Hannah, right? I wouldn't know what to call it otherwise. It would take me forever. Yeah. That's a female with kind of gray hair and red caftan or whatever the hell it is, and this and that and the other. And I could go on and on without actually turning anybody's head unless I said Hannah. So that naming grounds those sense of separation because now there's a Hannah and there's everything else. And what can happen from when you're looking from the Hannah position, which is just like as if you were looking from one of these squares. Well, I guess in a sense we are, but it can it can feel like that all of the other squares are either smarter than Hannah, or richer than Hannah, or better looking than Hannah, or uh, um, more charming than Hannah. I mean, it's usually the good stuff that we're missing out on, isn't it? Like from over here, it would seem like there'd be somebody who'd be smarter, taller, better looking, and have a lot more money, right? And but there's not anybody there. But when I project that there is a Fred here with all these qualities, it is just automated that it projects that there's other. Without a me and without an other, there's no me. Without a me, there's no other. So the establishment of one is the establishment of all. And as we get further entrenched in the dream, initially, our sense of other, when we are coming as we're out of the womb, and the sense of other may be just mama. We may know mama, which feels like other, but it's so exquisite that it's hard to tell draw the line between baby and mother, but I certainly know when I'm being held and when I'm not, and when I'm being catered to and when I'm not. Because what I notice from my position is that other is here to cater to me, is to take care of my needs, is to take care of my wants too. Wah. Is to entertain me. You think about these fundamental things that are established with this just sense of mother, because mother is other. And then pretty soon that'll expand to, let's just say, nuclear family. And that is an exponential jump in terms of complications. And then it's neighbors, larger family, making friends, going to school. And what we're doing the whole time is we don't recognize that we're doing it because it's not there's no personal Fred that's doing it. And it feels like there's a personal Fred who's going through the experience of being a child. And I've decided that that sense of being a child and the sense of being in the world, I've already been brainwashed into believing that that's Fred. Fred is happy or Fred is sad. Fred has this. Fred doesn't have that. Fred is always good, but sometimes told it's bad. It's not either not paying attention to me, it's not listening, or it's not understanding that what Fred is, which is goodness. And as we get older, it becomes wise. It gets wiser and wiser. Fred is now wise. Fred is now a good athlete. Fred is a good writer or accountant or whatever. We're just adding patterns. Look at if you ever studied it, I did. If you ever study accounting, it's just reducing things down pattern by pattern. It's just reducing it down. It's taking a damn mess and making something that we call understandable out of it. And that's what we're doing with this world. We're taking a mess, a cosmic soup, and we don't realize that we're doing it because the one that's doing it is not the individuals. It's awakeness. And through the magic of relativity, awakeness has taken this huge relative cosmic soup, and it was just a cosmic soup, and turned it into something understandable, which is civilization, us here, that sense of being. We notice how pleasant it is. We fear losing it. So once I'm afraid of losing that knowledge. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of actually experiencing myself as oneness. Somewhere deep down, it's already known, because when you wake up, it is a discovery, but it's a discovery that it's something you've known all along. Which is, oh yeah, of course. And it's a kind for many, there was, I say there was for me, it felt to me like there was, and I've seen it on many, many other faces. As people awaken, there is a sheepish grin that shows up. It's because I've been found out again, right? I've been discovered again. And so there's something that knows there's wholeness, but we have a spell called relativity that keeps that wholeness, appears to keep that wholeness at bay, but you can't keep wholeness at bay because there's no bay. There's just wholeness. You can't do anything with it because it is it. It's this. And it's everything in this. It's these hands moving like it feels like I'm making these decisions within relativity that could be argued. But from the absolute, there's no way, right? Because there's no Fred. That's what we discover as we awaken. That's that there's no individual here. And that if something's going to wake up, it's going to have to be awakeness itself, because there's no Fred to become enlightened. I'll tell you something, and this is not just bragging, it is, or some sort. It is also to lend credence to the teachings here, because we want to be able to take what we see here. We want to be able to take this to the bank, so to speak. So Penn State University wrote me earlier this summer, and there's some professors of Asian studies there that are doing a study on enlightenment. And they went out and I don't know if it's the United States or the world, whatever it is, probably, but I just don't know. But it's a large group, whether it's the US or the world. And they went out and to find 100 people that they believed were enlightened and best represented the ability to share it, to expound it. And I was one of that 100, which was very cool. I was very flattered. I was surprised and flattered. I was only surprised because anybody knows me, right? Everybody knows the big guys, but I don't think anybody hardly knows me. But apparently there's a little bit more micro fame out there than I knew. And it seemed to me at the time that not only were inviting me, but that they really wanted me, because I didn't, their first email went to spam, and they wrote me a second time. And it's like, really, we would like you, please respond. And I did. And then I got another email yesterday or the day before. And they've selected 20 from that 100 to continue studies. And so we'll be getting together for other interviews. I'll be meeting the other 19 and all of that. And it's going to be very interesting. So it makes it, even for me, it makes it hard to dismiss this as just somebody's thought process. This is not a thought process. You can try it for yourself. They said ye shall know them by their fruits. And I think that it was fruit that they went out to look for. And instead they found a Fruit Loop, right? Well, but it's the best they could do on short notice.